like I said, the Gen 7 car still has its issues, and you still have problems with dirty air and all that. But I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a decent race for what you can get with this car.
But like, that's my only complaint about the Coke 600 was the dirty air factor, the underbody downforce, the Gen 7 car as a whole. And we say it every week here, and it's nothing new, and people are probably tired of hearing about it. But it's like, dude, that's just it's the car that you have. That's what you have to race with. But it's annoying to watch when you have guys like Denny Hamlin who are faster than William Byron, but couldn't pass him.
Following is a production of the Garage Area.
Well, we just ended up watching the Coca-Cola 600 on Prime. Ryan and I watched. Is this the first race we've watched together this year?
I think so. We tried watching Daytona, but it didn't quite work out.
We've had struggles being able to watch races together this year, but we're kind of in our new garage area space here that's going to eventually be our permanent home. It's still under construction at the moment, but had enough to be able to watch the race tonight. Relatively decent race. I mean, the Gen 7 car obviously still has the same issues that it's always had, but one of the things that really stood out to me tonight was how dominant William Byron was. He seemed to have the race in the bag for most of the night. A good battle with Denny Hamlin. At times, the 11 seemed faster and looked like he was going to run him down, and did have the opportunity to run him down. But at the end there, when they said that he was going to be short on fuel, that kind of hurt him, obviously, and he had to come down pit road. But somehow Ross Chastain ended up being the car that was able to run him down and caught him in a good spot where he was getting tight behind Joey Logano, trying to stay on the lead lap. Byron was slowing down, and Chastain just had the momentum and was able to look like they were actually going to wreck each other at one point, and Chastain was able to work his way by him. It's late, I'm tired, but I enjoyed the race, and I can't tell if it's just the fact that we're here in the new garage area, and Ryan and I got to watch together for the first time in a while, and but honestly, I thought it was a pretty decent race overall. Like I said, the Gen 7 car still has its issues, and you still have problems with dirty air and all that. But I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a decent race for what you can get with this car. Being able to run a couple lanes down. I mean, the high side was the main dominant thing.
Yeah.
I think William Byron just choked it there trying to go below Logano instead of staying on this high side in 3 and 4. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a decent race.
Yeah. Guys like Brad Keselowski, they were penalized earlier in the race for, what did they call it? A vehicle interference?
Something like that.
I can't remember what the name of the penalty is, but basically he hit a guy that was, I don't know if he was a carrier or a tire changer, on another pit crew on pit road, got sent to the back, and he still drove back to fourth, something like that. So yeah, he had a decent night that way. Chase Elliott kind of had an up and down night, but still got a what place finish?
Sixth
place finish there. My pick, Ryan Blaney, got mired in traffic after he kind of got caught on a pit cycle. They'd pitted under green, and the yellow flag came out during that process. He was working his way back to the front, and in that whole process, he got mixed up in a wreck that involved Kyle Larson and several other people. Look, I think that was where the 99 got tight under the 19. Do I have that right?
Yeah.
That was the wreck there. So that was disappointing, and you had to open your big mouth and say that Josh Berry was what I can't remember exactly.
I said Ryan Blaney had to really blow it for my pick to beat yours.
Yeah, and sure enough, that he ends up in a wreck, and Berry ended up recovering fairly well and ended up 13th, 12th. Yeah, so he ended up with a pretty decent run toward the end there as well. Byron obviously pretty disappointed in how that all shook out. That's a couple times this year that he's really dominated the race, and it's gotten away from him. So I don't feel bad for him one bit, because I'm not a big Hendrick fan at all like you, or a big William Byron guy. I think he's a bit of a whiner, but I don't know. He won the race yesterday and had the fastest car today. Just didn't end up getting it done. And like you said, I think he just choked it away. And the Watermelon Man was able to smash one on the start-finish line and take the checkered flag home. So he was the fastest car all weekend, from what I understand. The one was, and ended up wrecking the car in practice. That they said it 3 or 4 times on the broadcast that they were up till 2:30 in the morning trying to build a new car instead of repairing the primary to come back here and race, and ended up paying off for them. And they end up being the 600-mile winners, and Ross Chastain gets his first crown jewel race. Anything else that you want to talk about immediately after the race? Anything else that stood out to you?
other than Larson's terrible day overall.
That's a good point. We should talk about that. Larson really, his entire lead up to the Indy 500 has not been good. He's wrecked 2 cars or 3 cars prior to the race.
I don't even remember one for some reason, but
He definitely wrecked 2. So we'll say it was 2 that he ended up wrecking before the actual race took place. And then today, you were watching it. I wasn't able to watch it. What took place that caused him to wreck the car?
yeah, he downshifted for some reason going into I believe 3 or 4, and it just spun him around. Almost looked like he got away with it until one car come on the outside, clipped him just a little bit, and then that just finished him off. So, and then he come to Charlotte, and then he hit the wall, and then he spun out, and then he got beamed by the 99 when the 99 took out 4 other cars,
Yeah.
4 cars. But
He started up front, and he ended up leading quite a bit of the race, and coming to the end of the first stage, he ended up slapping the wall pretty hard, and still looked like he was going to be fine and win the stage. And then coming off of turn 4, going over those bumps, he just ended up losing it. Same place you saw Hocevar lose it over the weekend, and Kyle Busch lost it there today as well. And I think Alex Bowman maybe spun off that same corner in that same set of bumps. Anyways, after that, he had knocked the toe out of the car a little bit, kind of was in the back. They were trying to make repairs and work their way back up to the front, and ultimately he ended up getting caught up in that wreck with Blaney and the 99 and the 19 and all those guys. So, eventful day for Kyle, no doubt. The Indy 500 started with a rain delay. I'm sure he was sweating whether or not he was going to be able to even get back on time for the Cup race, but he did end up making it. I don't know of anything else that I've got to talk about.
That's all
so
I've got.
We'll end up giving you a little more in-depth part of the show right now.
2 days later.
All right, after a couple days here, after the Memorial Day weekend, we've had the opportunity to kind of digest the race a little bit more than coming fresh off the checkered flag of the Coca-Cola 600, where we saw Ross Chastain win. I think we covered the main points of the race the other night. Kyle Larson just overall had a pretty bad weekend. One thing that I don't think that we talked about very much is how good the 77 was, how good Carson Hocevar was most of the night. He was sitting there running third a lot and just didn't end up with a good result because he ended up blowing a motor. That's just got to be so disappointing for him and that team, I'd have to think. But did you anticipate him running that good coming into the night?
I knew he was fast in practice, and he had run well. I still hadn't seen him competing for a win as well as he was this weekend. So, it was kind of surprising as fast as he was going to mix it up with Byron and Hamlin. And of course Chastain there at the end, if he was still around when Chastain was up there. But it was a little bit of a surprise, but I believe Hocevar has been pretty fast in a lot of races. Just kind of finishing off races has been one of their struggles, and I don't put this on them as far as a team issue. Of course, it's just a parts failure, but it was not a total surprise, but a small surprise, I guess.
Do you think that Hendrick had the motor blow up because it looked like he might beat Byron?
Yeah, they might have a button somewhere back at the compound or whatever in Charlotte there.
Probably. When I was a kid, I used to wish that there was like a way to freeze time so that everything would just stand still, and then I could go to the racetrack being the only person that was unfrozen and like pull important parts out of Jimmy Johnson's motor so that he wouldn't win every single race and win 7 championships.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's what Rick Hendrick developed in real life. They say the rich people have the technology, so I don't know if that's something he got figured out or not.
Yeah. Well, I believe Chastain has a Hendrick engine in there too, so
That one must malfunction then.
yeah.
I'm sure he would have blown that one. He's like, we can't do 2 in one night. But yeah, it was a great run for Hocevar, and I was impressed with it. And let me ask you this: do you think that Carson Hocevar is going to get his first Cup win before Ty Gibbs gets his first Cup win?
It sure feels like it. I feel like Hocevar has been running better than Gibbs, even though Gibbs has improved over the years. I don't know where he did run at Charlotte, but maybe he's fallen back into a slump again this weekend, but I feel like I see Hocevar up front more often than Ty Gibbs.
Yeah, I saw somewhere on Twitter that said that Ty Gibbs now has failed to win in his first 100 starts. And the question they were asking, he finished 24th. I just looked it up. So yeah, not a real good night for him. Uh, but the question that was being asked is, if you were running JGR, would you be making a driver change at the 54? Do you think that you would be, or do you think that you'd let Ty hang in there?
Um, Man, knowing Ty Gibbs' Xfinity career, I mean, it'd be hard to make a change. Um, because I believe he does have talent. It's just this car. So at worst, I would like maybe try putting him in more Xfinity races, give him some confidence. I feel like he's like absolutely shut out the Xfinity series. He hasn't run very much down there since his championship. I would be maybe put him down there, give him some confidence. It's all I don't know if his father passing at the end of that year, starting off his career, has affected him. I mean, I feel like he ran strong his first year though, so I don't know if it's something in his psyche or what. I know that I remember seeing a similar stat that talked about Ty Gibbs in not winning in nearly 100 starts, and previous Joe Gibbs drivers who had gone that long without winning had been removed or moved on from. Um, Obviously, with Ty Gibbs and being the grandson of Joe Gibbs, I don't see that happening. But even as I say, a third party in the situation, I'd be trying to figure something out to get his confidence back and maybe see what go from there. Give him another year, give him some. I think within a few years, you're allowed more than 5 starts in Xfinity Series still. So I'm not sure where he's at with that. It's got to be 3 or 4 years in his career now, right?
Yeah, at least three, I think.
But I'd be putting him in a car he can win and see how he does down there, maybe, and then go from there. That'd be my thing if I was a car owner.
Well, you mentioned how much he won in Xfinity in his career there, but you could say the same thing for Harrison Burton. Like he won a lot of races in the Xfinity car, and then you brought him to Cup, and he just didn't do anything. I mean, he still ended up winning a race, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
just
don't know.
I
I
don't.
don't see Harrison Burton as strong as Ty Gibbs was. I only remember a couple wins for Burton, but you probably may have followed him better than I did. I don't know, but
I just feel like he ran that 18 Dex car. I think he was the 18. Like it was at least in contention to win every week, even if he wasn't winning every race that he was in contention to
yeah.
win.
I mean, he's even has that 25 car he's running now up front too. So, I mean, it could be a product of the car. These guys who are running Xfinity cars are struggling. Maybe you got to go keep them in the truck series and then jump them up. But because Hocevar only has a few Xfinity starts, period. So maybe the Xfinity series is ruining guys for the Cup series. I don't know. I
I
hate
don't
to
know.
think that, but
Yeah, I
um,
don't know if the skills gap is that much different between Xfinity and Cup, or if the cars are just that different between Xfinity and Cup, and that's what's throwing guys off. I feel like that's the hot debate is the Xfinity Series provides the best racing, but is that translatable, however the word works, does it transfer from that series into the Cup Series? Um, but I agree, Carson Hocevar never well, I wouldn't say never, but he didn't run many Xfinity races. He didn't have a career in the Xfinity Series, and he had a good truck career and is starting off in a pretty good Cup career as well.
yeah, that's kind of an interesting thought there. That just because it might be seeing the same thing with Corey Heim also. Because I mean, although he has had some good races in Xfinity Series, but he's only ran a few races, and he does run good when he's in those races. But he made that Cup start at Kansas, was it?
Yeah.
Um, and he finished top 15. So, I could see a similar path of Corey Heim just pretty much skipping the Xfinity Series into the Cup Series. I got to imagine, I don't know if Riley Herbst has any more than a year contract with 23XI or not. I believe he's on the hot seat there. If Corey Heim has the funding, then depending on what Legacy does, if they get their charter from Rick Ware Racing after this lawsuit and stuff, and there'll be a Toyota right there if they still a Toyota at the end of the year. As far as I know, they probably will be, but So I maybe just bring them straight from truck to cup would be the best path now.
Yeah, that could very well be. Um, Yeah, I think that that's kind of the issue that we had with the race in general. But like that's my only complaint about the Coke 600 was the dirty air factor, the underbody downforce, the Gen 7 car as a whole. And we say it every week here, and it's nothing new, and people are probably tired of hearing about it, but it's like, dude, that's just it's the car that you have. That's what you have to race with. But it's annoying to watch when you have guys like Denny Hamlin who are faster than William Byron, but couldn't pass him. And even Chastain, he could run him down and he could get to about 3/10, but he wasn't closing any more than that until Tyler Reddick almost wrecked in front of William Byron, and Joey Logano got in Byron's way and slowed him down a little bit to the dirty air factor caused him to slow down. Um, Things like that are what's irritating about this car and irritating about this racing because other than that, I thought it was a very good race. So that brings us to the rating of the race, which normally we do at the top of the show, but because we're doing this a little differently tonight, what do you think you'd put on this for a number?
Um, I I kind of look back at my past ratings and I kind of go back like, man, maybe I should have adjusted this number down or this number up, but um, because I'm almost on the same par of the All Star race. Gave the All Star race a 6.5 because I seen issues as a short track race. I'll just go with this one as a 7 because I thought it was a better than the All Star race, and that was but just watching the air, like I'm just gonna keep continuing talking about errors. When you think about it, Ross Chastain drove up to William Byron. Now, whether he drove up to Byron because the cars in front of Byron, but going back to the Joey Logano being the last car in the lead lap, Byron struggled to get close to Logano to pass him to put him a lap down. And even when Ross Chastain got by William Byron, Chastain couldn't close up on Logano either. So, that kept Byron close there at the end still. So um it just I just I don't know. I think the excitement out there about this race is probably more of the TV change, Prime, the booth and stuff, because I think that was a far better improvement over Fox, of course. But I think the right people can make a race seem more exciting than what it really was. So that's kind of my take on the race.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. In fact, that was the number that I had in my head was a 7 as well. That's what I'm gonna put on it for a rating, is a 7 out of 10. And it is only the dirty air factor. I thought it was a really good race. And you could say, well, yeah, William Byron, he won the first three stages, but that's because he was out front. Like that's why he won the first three stages. And I don't even have a problem if Byron had the best car that he stayed out front that long. That doesn't bother me. Like the amount of laps that he led, which was 200 and whatever, 30 something. That doesn't bother me that he led that many laps, that he was out front that long. It was the fact that he was only leading that many laps because you couldn't pass him, and that's the frustrating part for me with all that. But I think that the race as a whole, if you could take somehow pull that factor out of the race and set it to the side, I think that if you weigh everything else, I've got no complaints. It was great. Uh, Tire wear was a factor, and it was just good. It was a good race. So I give it 7 out of 10. And I think that that's a respectable rating for what this race was. Uh, Ross Chastain, I listened to the teardown, and they were really singing his praises. I mean, almost to the point that they were just, kissing his hiney a little bit about how good that he is and how bad Trackhouse has been as a whole, and what a shining light that Ross has been. He had there was some stat that like he has an average of like 12 point something finishing position better than his starting position. And as these guys on the teardown were talking about how good the racing is now and how great a race Charlotte was, and I saw in the poll it got a 90%. So, I mean, the people online or the people that watched the race and voted in the poll also thought that that was a really good race. But the point that they were making about how good a race it was, they also, when they gave that stat about Chastain, said that, oh, that's a phenomenal number because this is one of the hardest eras in NASCAR to get a finishing position better than where you started. Your starting position is so important. It's like, well, is it good racing or is it not good racing? Because in good racing, your starting position shouldn't be that big of a factor. The only thing that it plays into is how many cars you have to pass before you get to the lead if you have a good car. So that is kind of a like paradoxical comment to me of how do you get there? But I do agree that Chastain's done such a great job this year compared to everybody else, and I actually think that his talent behind the wheel probably, as much as I hate to say it because I don't love him, is probably a little underrated. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you've seen when he's got great cars, he has great days. I did see that graphic, whatever, each race, how many positions above where he started, he finished, which was something I hadn't really noticed throughout the year. But I did notice that anytime he was up front, it was like up two to the top five. He wasn't running top fives. You know, it was like fifth to 10th on his best days and stuff and whatnot. And you can tell as a track house as a whole had been struggling more than I thought they would this year. Um, uh, Earlier in the year, I thought Suarez was making a case that, you know, it would be hard to take him out of the seat. And then ever since then, he's struggled, whether it's him or Trackhouse. Of course, he took out four cars on Sunday night, but you
Sure.
know, this week also, Shane Van Gisbergen outside of Coda hasn't really done anything. He's always running 25th or worse,
But
and
didn't he finish in the top 15 this week?
yeah, that's where I was
Oh,
getting
sorry.
there.
Sorry, I stepped on your toes there.
But that was what I say. This week also, he was running, fighting in the top 20 all night. It wasn't like he just kind of worked his way up to the front, and he ended up, I believe, 14th is where he was at, and
Okay.
so maybe Trackhouse found something this week, or this track worked out to him this week that they had fast cars, and you saw that with Van Gisbergen had a better day than normal. And they talked about him in practice, had like a seventh best fastest speeds in practice. So um, either maybe he figured something out or Trackhouse figured something out. Um, I don't remember where Suarez was running when he wrecked. I think he was somewhere near the top 20. So he may be having a decent day also compared to where they've been running. So maybe Trackhouse figured something out this week that made them all a little better. But Ross Chastain himself, I would say he's the best driver in that equipment over at Trackhouse.
Yeah. Do you think like because there's a ban on testing now that they're doing like the old Shane Gillis, they're running them at night. They're going over to Charlotte and they're testing their cars. They're running them at
Yeah,
night.
I doubt that one, but
Yeah, I probably do as well. You don't like to play into my jokes. Uh, I think that Ross Chastain is probably one of the few drivers that like wins annually. I don't want to say regularly because he doesn't win like a Kyle Larson or a Denny Hamlin or somebody like that. But you expect a Ross Chastain win at some point throughout the year, maybe a couple of them. Like that's not unreasonable to think that. He's the only guy that's in that camp that wins multiple races a year. That every time he gets out of the car, he's as excited as his first race win. Like he's just so pumped up every time he gets there on that start finish line with that camera in his face that like, dude, we won a race and how awesome that is. And I think that that's a cool thing to see a driver get that excited because I mean Hendrick drivers in general are boring people, but Kyle Larson gets out of the car and he takes the headstock off and he's like, yeah, had a good car and it was a good night and it's yeah, okay. Let's find out who finished second. Like let's hear from them. And then it's William Byron, and you got to hear, yeah, Rudy put it. Anyways, but Chastain is always just like super, super excited every time that you get to talk to him, and it's part of the entertaining factor that I really like about people like that. And I hate to say that because I don't want to give Chastain any more credit than is necessary because I don't like a lot of stuff that he does, but that's one of the qualities that I do like about him. You mentioned a little bit ago about the Amazon Prime coverage. First race that we've seen on streaming, uh, Amazon Prime new kind of it's a new startup network for covering NASCAR. What did you think?
um, I mean, it was definitely refreshing from Fox. Um, you know, when you I don't know if I'm one of the guys that really pay too much attention to the broadcast, but when I started paying attention between like the CW and Fox, I saw a comparison of a race. It was more about the cars, but when you listen to the broadcast, you could tell the upliftingness of the CW over the Fox and the camera work and stuff and whatnot. And I felt like there's a few times I wish the camera had panned out a little bit more. To got a few more cars, like they were still kind of panned on a couple of cars for in some areas, but it was still a far better production over Fox and uh, for the Cup Series as far as that goes. You had of course, Dale Jr. back in the booth, and Steve Letarte and stuff. That was almost pretty much the NBC booth, who was always kind of better than Fox in the end, anyways. So you kind of expected this to be better than the Fox coverage. So it was kind of a little refreshing, but sometimes I find myself just kind of listening to just kind of waiting for the stats and kind of the oh, I can't even think the strategy of the race and stuff, just so I
Yeah.
know what's going on and stuff. And a lot of the other the commentation or whatever you want to say
Commentary.
throughout the races and whatnot, whatever. Maybe sometimes I drown out a little bit, but overall, I thought it was a pretty good change from Fox.
I'll tell you what, the thing that really stood out to me. I mean, I like listening to Dale Jr. Steve Letarte, I'm not like I don't love him, but I think he's an intelligent person, can provide some intelligent thought to the race for sure. Um, but one of the things that stood out to me is it felt like there were fewer commercials and there were fewer full screen commercials. Like most of the times that they went to break, it was a side by side shot. And then the times that they went full screen was like not very often, and maybe twice when there was actual racing going on, they did that. Maybe there was more than that, but it didn't feel like there was many times that they went to a full screen commercial when the racetrack was green. And over a 600-mile race, that's impressive. And I don't know who had input and what there to get that figured out, but they're doing a great job. We're one race in, and Prime's my favorite coverage so far. Uh, we'll see what that looks like after Nashville, but yeah, that I was pretty impressed with that. Speaking of impressive, just the final thing that I had from this race that I wanted to talk about was uh, our boy AJ Allmendinger bringing home a fourth place finish. Uh, that's got to be Colleague's best finish of the year, is my guess. And he just absolutely he was there all night. I don't know how many stage points he earned or whatever, but he definitely he belonged in that spot in the top four there. It's not a position that he lucked himself into or anything like that. He definitely raced there all night long, and it was very impressive, I thought.
Yeah, I was just gonna pull up the points here real quick. You talked about him getting stage points and stuff. Um, I want to say someone said he gained 8 positions in the point standings.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
um,
I thought he's like 13th in points or something.
well, right now he's 17th.
Oh, 17th.
Yeah, so
I counted too
um,
many.
NASCAR changed the way their point system shows up on the website every time, and normally it says how many positions gained throughout the week, but it's not telling me that right now. So um, shout out to NASCAR for
I heard
messing their
eight.
website up. But
Oh, NASCAR messes everything.
yeah, but yeah, he's 17th, just on the edge of the playoffs there. But um, I believe someone said he gained eight positions and points from that night. So that's a big boost in the standings for him. So
Yeah, I agree. Uh, it's going to be interesting to see how the playoffs end up shaking up and shaping up rather. And I know that's a hot topic for media right now. Oh, who's going to get the playoffs? Who's going to point their way in? Who's going to win more races? It's like you have way too many races left to even worry about any of that yet. Uh, you just know that the guys who won are probably in pretty good shape, and the guys that won multiple times are in real good shape, and that's about it. Uh, but it is like a colleague car like the 16 is one to pay attention to for sure because he seems to be putting together good runs every week and then the occasional great run like he had tonight. And that's definitely a car that I think that doesn't necessarily have to win to make the playoffs. And there's always those guys right there on the fringe, like Bubba Wallace is there every year. Like he might not win a race, but he might be able to point his way in. And I think that you're going to see Allmendinger fighting for one of those point-in spots as well.
Yeah, most definitely. Whatever they got, a couple road courses coming up here, Mexico in 2 weeks, and of course we'll
Chicago.
still have Sonoma and the
Yep,
Glen to come up yet, and um, he'll probably get some good points out of those too. So,
I agree. By the way, I call SVG at the Chicago Street Course. Um, anything else that you want to talk about from the Coke 600?
um, that's all I got for that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's all that I got too. Anything else around the world of NASCAR you felt like we needed to cover?
I can't think of nothing.
Yeah, I can't either. I always ask you because I know that it's just going to be whether it's in your head or not. It's not like you had something written down. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I had a lot of fun watching the race with you together, enjoying the broadcast of Amazon Prime, enjoying the beginning stages of the garage area's new home construction there. Uh, and hopefully, being another Sunday night race, maybe we'll have the opportunity to watch it again together at Nashville. And we'll be right here to recap it for you guys in the garage area.